That'll be 2 for... Ooh.
Oh, hey Spencer, what's that you're reading there?
Oh, this is just the most disappointing thing that J.K. Rowling has ever released.
Oh, Spencer. No, haven't you heard? There's a new, even more disappointing thing that she's done.
You want me to hunt him down? To kill him? Dumbledore, why can't you go?
I cannot move against Grindelwald. It has to be you.
Oh, come on.
So we just saw Fantastic Beasts 2, Harry Potter's Wizarding World 10,
With Fantastic Beasts,
The Crimes of J.K. Rowling.
Yes, the crime, and the subtitle under that should also be the movie where nothing happens.
You may be familiar with the phrase train wreck. This movie is a perfect example of a train wreck.
Yes.
Not because it's bad, but because every scene in the movie, I felt myself thinking, oh, they're doing that? And then the next scene, oh my God, they're doing that? And then the next scene, oh my God, they're doing that!
Okay, so usually with a movie there is an end point, you know, there's something that they're trying to get to, there's a goal that, you know, you as an audience member you're trying to get to, but you never felt like that you ever really got anywhere. Because yeah, it was just like that, like, oh, we're doing this now, we're doing this now. It was kind of like a roller coaster, but it had no end, you know?
Yeah.
But it wasn't a fun roller coaster. It was the roller coaster that was made out of wood back in the 1920s that Grandpa liked to go on and no one likes anymore.
Yeah, befuddling, it was baffling, it was slow, it was dark and dreary and depressing. And it was...
So just like from critic aside, the fan in me is just extremely disappointed. You know, they just really destroyed this one because there was an article that I was looking up before this and it said that this is franchise killer. And I was surprised because you actually said the exact same thing. I was like, if there's two different people saying the exact same things, they are doing something wrong. And they definitely did.
Yeah, I would correct that slightly. I don't think it's a franchise killer because that would imply the franchise will not continue. They'll make more movies. They've invested so much in this that they're not going to give up.
No.
But this is definitely a franchise damager. The books earned your liking of the characters early enough that you stuck with them through the parts that weren't as well written, in my opinion.
I think that's the main part of why this film failed so much was because in the original Harry Potter films, you actually had characters that you actually enjoyed being around with, you actually enjoyed who you were with.
Here we have nothing.
Yeah, we don't have anything in this new one because there's a plethora of characters. Like, it felt like that there was 80% of characters that didn't really have any meaning to the story at all.
No.
They didn't have any impact to the story. They had no reason for being there. And even the people that were there that had interesting characteristics, they just... they didn't do anything with them.
There were really two characters in this plot that had any connection to the actual progression of plot at all, which were Grindelwald and Credence, who they brought back for some unimaginable reason.
I think it was mainly because of the fact that they didn't know how to progress a Fantastic Beasts series. So like, oh, like, you know, it's just some guy who's just like in the, like, it's the British, like, what do we have from the last film?
I was blown away to see that character again. Because he was part of the most dark, depressing things about the first movie, which I was hoping that this movie would move on past. But it doubled down on them. Not only did it bring him back with a Deus Ex Machina kind of hand-waving, oh, you thought he died in the last movie? He didn't die, and that's it.
And you know, they did that a lot throughout this entire film. They kept on saying like, hey, remember that thing that happened? Oh, no, that didn't.
No, it didn't happen, no. Way to steal the emotional impact of the first movie, if there was any. You know, oh, we had to wipe the main character's memories because he's a muggle and he can't be part of the Wizarding World. Oh, it's kind of sad. Oh, nah, that didn't actually happen. So, like...
Oh, that was the biggest middle finger. You know, character
there were multiple... There was an endless series of middle fingers. Like, in that one scene, they bring him back and say, oh, I didn't actually lose my memories, it's fine. And you're like, what? And then right after that, they have this extremely forced breakup between him and Queenie?
Yeah, because she essentially drugged him to love her.
Why? He's already crazy about her. What?
Okay, no, but it didn't even make any sense because Jacob says, okay, it never worked on me, and then you find out that there was a love potion. So then does that mean that it actually did work on him, but then she used a love potion on him? But then when the love potion is done, then he still remembers Newt? It didn't make sense.
I think their intention there was that this love potion was a completely extra thing. It was not connected to him not losing his memories. When he says, oh, you know, the spell just makes you lose bad memories, but I just had good ones. Like,
oh yeah, that's right. Oh,
really? That's the justification?
That was so forced. It was very forced. And then after that scene, you know, they have that forced breakup thing, and it was kind of like this is where I kind of go into J.K. Rowling is a good writer, but not a good screenwriter, because there's a lot of extra fluff in this film where you're just like, oh, why is this in here?
Yeah, I think this is a very important point to discuss because I'm not going to call her a bad writer.
Yeah.
I'm going to call her a bad screenwriter.
Yeah.
A lot of the elements in both of these movies are the sort of discussions and character moments that you can get away with in a book, because a book is much longer.
It's dense. You can spend more time with people that you wouldn't really do with other films.
You're not expecting every reader to read through your book in like 2 hours or whatever. You know, people read a book at their own pace, and you know, you can have a lot of extra things that build more character backstory and don't really necessarily move the plot forward, but it's kind of fun little things like that. You can't do that like that in a movie. No. Not to derail on the first one, but the first one spent, I'm going to say, 5 minutes discussing Lestrange, Newt's crush.
Yeah.
She's not in that movie. She plays no role in that movie.
Until it's this one, right? That's the same character, right? Okay,
yeah. So she comes up in this one, and so the first one builds up as like this mysterious lost love, and then she's in the first scene with Newt, and it's like, oh hey, how's it going? What?
Yeah.
It was supposed to be like mysterious, like weird, you know, love that he's holding on to, and then she's like marrying his brother for no apparent reason.
What they really should have done with this film is that the entire film really is, yes, it's between Credence, Dumbledore, and Grindelwald. And I really feel like that they should have just made this like a completely separate film, because Newt Scamander and Jacob and Queenie,
his friends, they don't play into the plot at all.
No, and even with Queenie, the film is starting to figure out what to do with her half the time.
Yeah.
You know, she's just kind of there, and then like when she awkwardly breaks up with Jacob, and then she runs away to Paris to go try to find her sister, and then she sees Jacob again, and for some reason she wants to get back with Jacob, you know, but I thought that she wanted to leave, and then you have this awkward scene where she's just like crying in the rain, and they're trying to make you feel something, but there's no emotion tied to it, and you don't really care, because Jacob is annoying. Jacob, speaking of Star Wars prequels, I kept on getting Jar Jar Binks vibes from him. He was just so annoying. He just wouldn't shut up, and you know, he's the character to be like, oh, what's that? But there was really no point for him to be there, and he kept on doing like a stupid laugh.
He served a purpose in the first movie because he was the character who wasn't a wizard, who's there to go, oh wow, magic is cool. You know, kind of what Harry did in the first movie, right?
Yeah.
So like, I get you have a character that served that function in the first movie. I think in this movie you could have left behind pretty much all the American characters. Like maybe
yes, you didn't need any of them.
You didn't.
No.
And then you could have actually come up with something good for Newt to do. Involve his magical creatures with like figuring out how to track Grindelwald or something. Like come up with something connecting him to the conflict, and they didn't.
And that's the main issue, is that with all of these separate plots, like you have so many characters, like Nagini and Credence.
Oh, I forgot about them. Yeah, Nagini and Credence. Yeah, they're like circus performers at the beginning of this.
Yeah, which I found bizarre, because why would you have a freak show in a wizarding world?
Yeah, it's like, well, this is pretty plain. Like we see this stuff everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was weird. Okay, so Nagini and Credence, Newt, Jacob, Queenie, what was it, Tina?
And then you got Lestrange.
And then you got Lestrange.
You got Newt's brother.
You've
got the bad guys. So you got Grindelwald and his sidekicks. A couple other ministry people, like the bad guy. The ministry guy who's like actually Queen's dad, maybe?
Like you have all these different plot threads, but the issue with this film is that it didn't intersect or intertwine any really of the plot elements together. Like no one was working towards that same goal, really.
I would also draw a comparison to Infinity War. That was a movie that did a lot of characters, and everyone going into that's like, this might be a mess, because they got all these characters, how are they gonna tie them together? And even though sometimes you're waiting a while to get back to certain plots, they all connect. They all have a purpose. There's nothing extraneous. I've watched that movie a couple times just thinking to myself, okay, what would I cut? How would I shorten this movie? And there's not much to shorten. Like, I maybe cut out some of the vision stuff because it's like kind of, but like that's kind of, well, it still fits into the plot.
It's fluff, but it still adds itself to it. Yeah.
So this movie was the complete opposite. Like, if that's an example of doing a lot of characters and plot lines pretty well, this is
the complete opposite.
Opposite.
Yeah, could have been what Infinity War might have been.
Yeah, in the hands of someone who doesn't know how to write a script, which unfortunately is Rowling, because Rowling is not only is she not a screenwriter, she didn't work with a screenwriter for either of these films. She's the sole credited writer on both of these movies.
That explains a lot.
It does. The director talked a bit about working with her. He was saying, "Well, wow, she's really quick. Like, a lot of writers take 3 to 6 months to get back to you with updates. She gets back the next week with all these updates. It's great." I'm sure she's very dedicated. I'm sure she's very excited about what she's doing. But the structure of a screenplay, how you allot time to different parts of a story is very important, because you're working in a very limited time frame compared to a book.
Yeah.
I don't want to say she didn't study anything about screenwriting, because I don't know.
Yeah.
But it really feels like she didn't. It really feels like she doesn't understand how to write for the screen.
I think she's a good storyteller, not the best writer.
Yeah,
but
I will agree with that. I think that like the reason the Harry Potter books were interesting and fun were that she created a fun world that you wanted to be part of. That's the core element of, you know, writing a lot of books and getting people and a big fan base following you. They want to be part of that world. That's why Harry Potter books were, and the movies too, were fun.
Right.
That is not present in either of these Fantastic Beasts movies.
No. Yeah, for the medium of the book, I think she does well, but for the screen is completely different. Like, you can't just do that. You can't just be like, I fix toilets for a living, now I'm gonna work on cars. You know, you just don't do that.
They're very different.
And you know, it's funny because a lot of people, I mean, even for me myself, I push for, you know, not think tanks for these films. I push for just kind of like the independent kind of vibe where it's like, I mean, for just J.K. Rowling to be on this as a writer, I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That they allowed someone.
Yeah, because they're writing what, $300 million or whatever they spent in this movie on just her. Like, that's big. Like,
yeah, they took a huge risk for that.
Which also reminds me of the prequels, because you had everyone thinking, oh, George Lucas is a genius, we just have to do whatever he says. No one's gonna question him or push back. I got the same vibe from this. Like, there had to be people working on this movie who thought, this doesn't really work. What are we trying to tell here? But they must not have either brought it up to her or felt like they could, or I don't know. Like, I really felt like
she's a juggernaut now.
Right. And, you know, I certainly respect what she's done in terms of, you know, making this franchise and all, but this is not the way to keep it going. Like, I would really worry about the future of this franchise if they don't seriously correct after this movie. I think every decision this movie made was wrong in terms of which characters to bring back, which characters to include in the plot.
Yeah, which characters are interesting.
What to do with the characters.
Yeah, what to do. No, okay, that's the main thing. What to do with the characters, they didn't know what to do with them. They should just be doing what Star Wars is doing, which is like...
Wait, you're using Star Wars as a positive example?
Yes. I know. So in terms of Star Wars, like you should be doing what they're doing, which is like, okay, we're gonna have our Rogue One, we're gonna have our Darth Maul, we're gonna have our Han Solo. You don't just make a film where it's like, all right, we're gonna have Han Solo, but we're also gonna have this in it. We're also gonna have Obi-Wan. We're also gonna have, you know, like, they're trying to make an extended universe, but then why don't you just make an extended universe? Why don't you just have your movie with Newt Scamander and then have your separate series with Grindelwald?
Right. I agree with you there.
The way to fix this film is get rid of all your characters. Beef up the ones that are actually there, that actually have a purpose to the main story, and then just make a story about that.
Right.
The fanboy in me, I liked when they went to Hogwarts. That's when, like, a little bit of joy was put back into my life.
If you felt good at that, you were tricked. I'm sorry,
No.
I'm sorry.
No, shut up, all right? No, shut up. All right, look. I'm going to do two different things, all right? I'm going to do my critic side, I'm going to do my fanboy side, all right?
All right.
Fanboy side, I was like, oh, I'm back at Hogwarts. I love this. This is amazing. This is great. And now I'm going to go to my critic side. So, yes, it was very cynical the way that they did it, because there wasn't really an introduction to Hogwarts. It was just kind of like, oh, look, here's Hogwarts again. Didn't really felt natural of, like, why we were there. It was just kind of like, hey, here it is.
most of the shots were pretty empty. You had like just empty, walkways, and there's nobody walking around. It just felt dead, like it was.
No one was there.
Right. They just had, when they had a couple scenes of the classrooms, they managed to cram in a bunch of students, but that was it. It didn't feel like the bustling, lively place of the original movies.
There was only one part in Hogwarts I actually liked that I felt like kind of had that hustle and bustle scene. It was when some of the kids are like running outside. It's like in a past scene or something like that.
Oh yeah, the flashback.
Yeah, the flashback, and then they're running outside, and then there's the and then you see the Quidditch players, and then they're all flying about. Yeah, I actually felt like that was a pretty good shot. It's better than what Chris Columbus did for the first one, I think.
Sure, but then you have the problem of that whole flashback scene being completely useless. The very first scene was okay. I'm trying to think of things I liked about this movie. The first scene was okay. It was fast-paced. It was pretty visually...
It gets you integrated into the story, starts you off on some action. It tells you, like, okay, this is what's happening now. So.
Yeah, and the shots of him, like, sitting in the cell, he looks pretty creepy. And then they're transporting him out with, like, they're, like, magically suspending him.
Yeah.
It looks kind of cool. Obviously, if you start thinking about it in terms of, wait, this is, like, the most dangerous person in the world. This is how you're transporting him?
No, that's exactly how I was thinking about it, because in the entire Harry Potter universe, you are given so many ways to get from one place to the next.
Everybody else is teleporting.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So we have trains. We have flying cars. We have flu powder and
port keys.
Port keys. We have port keys. They didn't even bring up port keys. That would have been safer. A Muggle transported through the port key in this movie, and he made it. I mean, I understand it visually, aesthetic. I understand that.
And you
but
gotta have a sequence where he escapes. Like, I get that happens, but can't you, like, make it at least a little bit believable that they were trying to not let him escape?
Yeah, because this one, like, even he's in the carriage, and then you have the Thestrals, and then they're galloping, and then all of a sudden they just dive right straight down. Like, it looks pretty dangerous. Like, do you think that that's a great idea to put Grindelwald in there?
Seriously.
Yeah.
If you think too much about almost any fictional universe, you're gonna poke holes in it, and at some point it gets a little silly because it's like, okay, it's just a movie, we're trying to believe what's going on, but because of how frequently all these different elements are used in this universe, I think it's valid. Like, everybody apparates,
true.
right?
No, it's...
So if you're protecting the carriage that's carrying the bad guy, wouldn't you be thinking, okay, let's, like, be aware that someone might apparate right next to the carriage or something? Like, we'll be looking at the carriage from maybe every angle, so we're aware. If someone suddenly appears on the carriage, we'll know about it, because everybody can do that. And this guy has all these crazy followers. Like, that's not a crazy thought to have. It's not like, well, they were just, like, trying to protect the carriage and they missed him.
Not to mention that the way that it happens, like, it doesn't even make sense when, like, the security guard, like, it actually turns out that he's Grindelwald, and then Grindelwald's actually in the carriage.
Well, no, they switched places.
Was that it? I thought...
Yeah, they did some sort of dumb...
No.
Yes.
No. That was Polyjuice Potion, wasn't it?
No, they did some sort of magic crap where they switched places. He operates to the bottom of the carriage. He's like sitting there, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna switch places. And he switched places. That's... maybe I'm totally wrong. That's what I got from it, and I was like...
I thought it was Polyjuice Potion, because if they did switch places, that's stupid. That's even more stupid.
Even more stupid than using Polyjuice Potion?
Yeah, and you can poke holes into any fantasy universe the more you think about it, but it depends on if it keeps on stacking up. And it kept on stacking up. Especially for someone like J.K. Rowling, because when those books came out, she was good at the world building aspect. That's what a lot of people were saying.
Yeah.
Which also reminds me of a part when... Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Grindelwald, so he wants to kill Dumbledore, and he's saying that Credence is the only one that can kill Dumbledore. But wait, in the Half-Blood Prince, when Dumbledore dies, doesn't he just get killed by a killing curse and that's it?
Yeah.
So then why do you need Credence to kill Dumbledore? Like, oh...
At the end of the movie, they start to actually get to a couple of themes that could be interesting, in that Grindelwald is talking about the humans and how the humans are actually a big threat, that they're very violent. This is placed between the two world wars, and he starts alluding to what's happening, what might happen with World War II. And he starts using a language that suggests his motivation is to prevent a war like World War II, because he has some premonition or something. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. If that's going to be part of the overarching plot, to like that the actions that are going to unfold are going to relate to World War II and how that happened in some way, that could be interesting. Yeah. But that's undermined by having this ridiculous scene of them murdering muggles in cold blood to take their apartment and then murdering their kid. Like, okay, a couple problems with that. First of all, this is supposed to be, I thought, a movie about magical beasts and fun and having some sort of will to live.
Yeah, you're definitely talking about prequel territory here.
So
yeah.
On that front, it shouldn't be in the movie. Secondly, it directly undermines any sort of audience believability in this character. Like, I prefer villains that are a little bit gray, so you can actually sort of think they might be,
Grindelwald was such a throwaway character.
Yeah, it's like he's a completely evil maniac, whatever.
Yeah, he was boring. There was nothing interesting about him.
If you take out that scene, you don't show him being ridiculously, undeniably evil, then you might start to understand at the end, oh, maybe he actually is not totally evil. He's actually got some kind of, at least from his perspective, noble goal. That's kind of interesting. Like, that's much more interesting than just think, oh, well, he's just lying to everybody because he's gonna be evil, well, whatever. And also, how many magical apartments and magical buildings are there? Like, why do you have to kill muggles to take their apartment? You can just make a magical apartment on a wall somewhere. Like, it was completely unnecessary from a practical standpoint. It was only there to be extremely dark and distressing. Like, they had shots of like them loading the coffins into the car. Like, this is a Harry Potter movie?
Yeah, that was jarring. That, I will agree, that was like too dark. That was too dark. Would have been hilarious though if like they had like a baby-sized one.
Okay, that would have been funny. That would have been funny. Yes. But that would have been further evidence that this movie has no idea what kind of tone it's trying to set. This movie had a lot of tonal issues that I would actually compare to the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah, I was getting Star Wars flashbacks too.
Yeah, because in the Star Wars prequels, you have scenes of very jarringly different tones right next to each other.
Yeah, you have slapstick like when R2-D2 is like doing that oil slick thing in episode 3. And then all of a sudden, Count Dooku gets decapitated, and then there's some quippy, funny thing going on. Yeah, and that's the same problem that the first Fantastic Beasts had. I like that more now, but
compared to this,
no. This was like this new one was just like it didn't know what it wanted to be.
In this movie, the only magical beast felt like they went 30 minutes with this dark, depressing murder and like depressed characters. We need to stick in some magical creatures here.
Yes. That's what I kept on feeling like in the film. I'm still confused about what exactly happened at the end of this film. From what I understood, I think Credence is related to Dumbledore in some way. Is that what they were saying?
Yes. He's Dumbledore's nephew, I want to say.
Okay. So that's the weird part because now she's just kind of like making up a family tree to just try to borrow something. And that's what Lucas did, in all the prequels. He just kind of borrowed things from, because he couldn't come up with anything new.
Everyone's got to be related to everybody else.
Stupid.
He feels like such an Anakin character in this too. Like
he's brooding, he's depressing, like he doesn't.
He's gonna be the new Darth Vader. Or,
like, that would be great in the next movie if he cuts off his nose and then he actually turns into Lord Voldemort.
Oh no! Oh no! I can so see that happening.
That would be hilarious.
Oh, no.
I would love that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because he already loves Nagini. They already have a relationship.
Oh my God.
Oh my God! They're gonna do that. They're gonna do it.
It's so bad that it's gonna happen. It's so bad. All right, fine, done. All right, we already wrote the next Fantastic Beasts. Pump it out now.
So they wanted to get Newt Scamander to go assassinate Credence, this guy who's like a quirky animal guy. What? You're gonna hire him as an assassin? Yeah. Like, what on earth was that? And then at the end, he agrees to do it.
Yeah.
No.
Wait, did he?
Yeah. He's like, he goes to his brother and he's like, all right, I'm on board. Really? He never struck me as some amazing fighter or something. Like, he's good with animals, but he's gonna use animals to beat him? He's gonna like be flipping out these animals to do different attacks, like at the end of the first movie?
Most of this film is useless.
That's the problem, isn't it? Most of the things that happen are characters like, we have our main characters that are like trying to find each other.
That we don't care about.
It doesn't matter. Like, it's irrelevant to what they're doing, but they're like, oh, I need to go find where this character is, or they need to go find where I am, or well, it was completely irrelevant to the plot. And then all the stuff about Lestrange, she dies at the end, so she wasn't.
Yeah,
she died.
I can't, like, there was so much that was happening in the final part, and I couldn't follow it. So who? What? What? I'm trying to remember, like, what happened. Like, wait, okay, so the entire film, Credence is trying to figure out who he is. then he's part of the Lestrange family. But then he's also part of Dumbledore's family.
Yeah.
But then Queenie likes Jacob. But then Nagini is the snake. But then, oh god, this film was just a headache. I still don't seriously. Do you understand it? Like what happened at the very end? Because I really want to know.
Well, sort of.
Because it was so confusing.
So Grindelwald calls a quorum of all of his supporters, and the Ministry of Magic knows about this, so they show up to arrest him, I guess. But then Dumbledore tells him, "Oh, don't arrest him, because that would be bad for some reason." So all the R's just kind of hang around and walk up and listen to him talk, and then he makes this blue fire and kills all the R's, and then kills one of his followers, because that's what bad guys do, they kill their own followers. And then he kills Lestrange, because Lestrange tries to kill him, but I didn't notice Lestrange was even supposed to be on his side. I don't remember that. But so all the time that was spent on Lestrange in the first two movies is completely useless, because she never really played any significant role in the plot, and we never really grew to care about her. Queenie was under an Imperius curse probably, so she was like being mind controlled to go follow them.
That was so forced. You could just feel that the film didn't know what to do with her, so they were like, how about we have her like team up with Grindelwald? Like, yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't know what
she's not like some special wizard in some way. Like, doesn't Grindelwald have all of these wizards that are like super big supporters and like cult members of his? Like,
yeah, like extremely influential, like the Malfoy family probably or something like that.
So why bother with some random witch who's just going to be a pain in your ass when she gets out of the Imperius curse? Like, just
central. She's important to the plot. There's these blue CGI dragons that are coming out, and the Ministry is just trying to like stop them from doing evil things. But it's just a blue flame. It's not Grindelwald or anything. It's just kind of like this kind of evil entity force. And then the movie ends, and you leave feeling empty. Like you don't feel like that there was a natural progression towards anything. You don't feel like that you've accomplished anything. You don't feel like that you've walked away with any real relevant information. Because the entire plot of the film is Credence trying to figure out who he really is. And he kind of figures it out. But in the first film, wasn't he just this person with like suppressed rage?
Yeah, he was an abused orphan whose adoptive mother was a horrible person. It was like a cult leader.
Right. But for some reason, he has like this suppressed rage that makes him a unique wizarding person, right?
Well, anger makes you stronger.
Oh.
Fear leads to anger.
Oh.
Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. All we have to go on with him is that he's nursing this inner rage like Anakin, and that's making him really powerful, I guess. But he's just got this parasite on him, right? That's really all it is. But yet he's portrayed as like, he's some super powerful wizard who can blow up a mountain at the end because he's really powerful. But I don't know. The movie does a very poor job defining what a powerful wizard is. Like, why is this guy special, really?
Oh man, this just made me think of the thing that also made me laugh really loud at the very end of the film when Queenie is talking to Grindelwald and they have Credence with him, and then she says you have to be really careful with him because he doesn't know if he chose the right side. And then Grindelwald goes up to Credence. And throughout this entire film, Credence has been nurturing this bird, right? And I mean, fair enough, like it's a phoenix, I guess, or whatever. But to me, it was just really funny because he's like, he's talking in like some evil monologue, and then he sets the bird on fire. It was just like, wait, did she just say like to be careful around him? And then you're just not even gonna really explain it fully to him, so.
Yeah, and of course that's gonna turn out to be what Dumbledore's bird probably, Fox. Because everything has to connect to
everything
the books.
Everything has to connect, and then and
every detail from the Harry Potter books has to be explained, and where it came from, and who had it, or you can't just leave it well enough alone.
No.
Oh no, like the third desk from the left in Snape's classroom, the wood from that desk was actually made from the sister of the Whooping Willow.
Oh really?
Yeah, it was a tree that was part of the Whooping Willow, but it was cut down by Snape's father.
Oh, Snape's father.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And did he do it with a wand?
No, just an axe.
Oh, just an axe. Okay, but then was that wood from the axe used to make Snape's wand?
No. It was he just cut down the tree. Yeah, he cut down the tree, and then he was a wood crafter, so he was making desks. That's just That's what happened. Yeah. And they're going to spend 45 minutes in the next movie talking about that.
I don't want to see that. They theoretically paid Johnny Depp $20 million just for the first Fantastic Beasts, and he was only in there for like 30 seconds. So imagine the amount of money that they paid him to be in this movie, Crimes of Grindelwald, because he's been in here for more than 30 seconds, but he gets to an apartment and he just stays in the apartment the entire time. This great evil being of a person that is supposed to be even more evil than Voldemort just spends the entire film inside of an apartment, and that's it. Like, they don't do anything with him. Like, you pay one of the most highly rated actors of our generation, and you don't do anything with him.
It's bewildering. I don't get it at all.
Yeah.
He must have been on set on the first one for like half a day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or a couple hours maybe. Like, okay, they gotta do the makeup on him. Okay, stand up there, you're gonna wave your arm around a little bit, you're done.
Yeah.
We're gonna arrest you real quick. That's all that happened, right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah, that's all that happened. Don't get me wrong, like after like the 10th film in the franchise, this is still pretty good to last this long, to actually have decent quality films like this far.
I'm conflicted about that because like the original books, even though I didn't like all the dark stuff that they did in that series, they still earned it somewhat because you got to like the characters in the world before they started unloading all this magical bureaucracy and dark political angsty stuff, whatever. This one didn't do that. And I feel like it's a simple formula to follow where we get the magic in there and you're gonna like it first, but like,
what they needed to do was they needed to get rid of a lot of the characters and just have it be a film between Grindelwald, Credence, and Dumbledore. They're trying to do the Wizarding World thing, which is like, the extended universe. Like, everyone wants to do the extended universe now, which is fine, but I think that what happened was when they said, okay, we're gonna make like 4 Fantastic Beasts film, we're like, oh crap, we have Newt in here, like, we need to have him in there. Like, they should have just split those films apart. Like, if you wanted to continue Newt's adventures, like, go do Newt's adventures. That would have been great, because then you would have had like, fun Fantastic Beasts like movie, like
sure, I would see that.
Yeah, and then have your dark, depressing, evil thing with them going on and all that. Eddie Redmayne, I actually liked him as Newt. I think that he was born to play that character. He does it so well, and also the kid actor who plays him as a younger version of him.
Yeah,
that's the only time where I actually saw a kid actor who actually looked like. I felt like that would actually be Eddie Redmayne when he grew up.
Yeah. That was pretty well done. I think I liked Newt better in the first one just because he was more story relevant.
Yeah, no, he had no point being.
I had an even harder time figuring out like, okay, well, what is he trying to do? Why do I care what he's doing in this one?
Yeah, no, there was no point of him being there.
Your suggestion is pretty good that if they had gone the Star Wars route, at least in terms of, okay, here's a series of movies, but then there's a bunch of one-offs, expanding the world. Yeah. That would actually, I think, work better for Harry Potter than it does for Star Wars. Because Harry Potter's, I could see that happening in this world a little more.
Yeah. Because the way that they've done it now is that they've made it such a narrow way where it's just like, no, we have to have Newt in there. We gotta have Newt in there.
We gotta have all the American characters. They're gonna show up in Paris for no reason.
Yeah.
What?
And really the only reason why it felt like that they had the American characters in the first one was to identify with the Americans. Like, wait, we gotta have Americans in this now so that we can identify for the American crowd.
Okay, yeah, I could go on a whole rant about the first movie too. One of the main problems that I have with the setting, this applies to this movie too, is that all the sets in the cities, everything is gray and drab and dead. Everyone's dressed in like blacks and browns and grays. Both of these movies are so colorless and lifeless. Yeah, the only color you have is when some beasts show up now and then. Oh, that's colorful. That's kind of cool looking. Then we're back to these like stone streets and these gray dead buildings, and it's so lifeless. Every scene almost is lifeless and miserable and washed out, and just everything's got this kind of blue-gray tint over it that just feels like you're like freezing to death. It's miserable. These movies are miserable, particularly this one.
There's nothing redeemable about this film.
No.
There's absolutely nothing redeemable.
Rowling needs to work with the screenwriter who can help her structure a story
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying with that. I feel like that she was trying to continue, like, naturally continue a story, but then you had, like, these corporate hacks, like, standing over her, you know, like, hey, what are you writing there? No, don't do that.
I don't agree with that.
Really?
Because my feeling was that she was so wrapped up in, oh, here's all the characters and all the backstories of the characters. And oh, everyone likes the characters from the first movie, so they're gonna come back and we're gonna have all these, intermingling relationships, and you're gonna learn little things about the characters' histories. And here are the flashbacks with, the main, or the, what's her name, Lestrange, and we're gonna see Dumbledore. Like, it was, to me, it felt very self-indulgent. It felt very, oh, the fans are gonna want to see what all these characters do and how their histories are. But that, it made a terrible story.
I don't know. I still feel like that the corporate people still
In
like
what
had
way?
their finger points.
In what way?
There's one moment that I really picked up on it, and it was kind of comical. So I don't know. Do you know much about Dumbledore and Grindelwald's relationship when they were in the books? Okay, so she came out and said that they were lovers.
Oh, right. Yeah, I remember.
And in the movie,
he references that.
he references
we were
like,
more than friends.
No, yeah, or we were more than brothers,
Oh,
or
yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Okay, sure.
And there were some people in the theater that were chuckling and laughing and such like that. To me, that felt like that was a corporate decision to not just outwardly say like we were lovers.
So you don't think it would have been acceptable for them to say, Dumbledore is gay?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, because I feel like that a lot of the corporates are just like, oh, like we want to be inclusive, but not too inclusive.
Maybe. I don't know. Like, I feel like a lot of film producers are trying to be more inclusive in general.
They are trying to be more inclusive, but I don't know. With a giant franchise like Harry Potter,
I guess I could see that. Like, there's probably still some studio heads that are like, well, for a kids movie, we don't want to have too much of gay stuff, because there's a lot of parents who are going to be like, I don't want my kids seeing gay stuff. In terms of discussing why a film failed, you can talk about almost every character, every scene, every element of this movie. Nothing worked, and I'm interested to see how they'll fix this in the next one. Kind of similar to how I'm a little curious how they're going to fix, Star Wars with another one of that. Like, how do you recover from this kind of thing?
I'm gonna put my money down on it right now. It's not gonna recover. Next one's gonna be crap.
Wow.
Yeah, it's gonna be crap, just like this one.
If Rowling is the only author of it, I will agree with you. Once they release, Rowling is the sole screenwriter of the next movie, I'll agree with you, and in which case, I would consider this franchise dead on arrival. The next movie,
From here on out, if they do a separate franchise, if they do something different where it's like a Rogue One or something like that, or a Han Solo film, like, yeah, that could be different, but as far as Fantastic Beasts is concerned, I think it's dead.
I don't know. My vibe from the theater, people were laughing at certain moments.
Yeah, people seem to be enjoying it.
People next to me were talking about, how is the story going to go in the future? How does it connect to this and that? So they seem to enjoy it. Maybe we're just weird jerks who don't like anything, or maybe.
No,
I know I am, but
no, definitely no. We're definitely gonna get some comments saying that we're horrible people.
Would you recommend this movie to anybody?
Man, that's so hard to say. I feel like that a lot of people don't touch Harry Potter as a review source because you are either on one side of the spectrum. You're either a massive Harry Potter fan or you're not. If you're a critic, yeah, go see it. It's fun to just dissect and interesting to see. If you're a Harry Potter fan, you're gonna go see it anyways. Get it out of your system, that's it, but it's a dud. It's a dud.
In terms of enjoyment, it is a dud.
Yeah.
In terms of analyzing it as a film that is a misfire in a franchise, it's instructive. I think other companies or other writers that are trying to make a big universe should watch this, because they should see how not to do it. They should see how not to build a universe, how not to tell a story, how not to make a sequel especially. I think the only people that would really enjoy this movie are people who will uncritically consume anything that is part of this universe. Yeah, I'm not gonna say they're wrong to do that. Like, if they enjoy whatever the universe is, no matter what direction it goes, just seeing all these different character backstories in this movie, if they enjoy that, I mean, fine. But from a script writing standpoint, from a movie making standpoint, from a storytelling standpoint, it's a disaster. This movie is extremely flawed.
Yeah, not even from a Harry Potter perspective. I mean, yeah, they take a lot of liberties with the source material and such, which, I mean, it's fine. Like, you have to do that when you translate, like, any kind of story into a film or whatever. But with that aside, this just as a film by itself, it's just, it wrecked itself. It's horrible.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend this to anybody except people who are extremely big Potter fans who, even then, I don't know that they would enjoy it.
When I left the theater, I just kind of felt hollow and empty. I didn't really feel like that I left with any kind of emotion. Like, at least with, you know, I give Chris Columbus a lot of shit, but even then, like, I still liked the first one to a degree, and I still can walk away with that film, like, feeling some kind of emotion, or like, you know, that was a nice little story. I enjoyed myself.
Yeah, it's a simple, small, little, you know, cute, fun thing.
Yeah, this one, I just left frustrated.
Yeah. Spencer, I just wanted a fun magic movie with magic animals and quirky characters and magic wands and flying around, going on adventures and, you know, making jokes and having fun. That's what I wanted.
Well, that's too bad, Sonny. You're gonna get your depressing movie film with political dialogue, and you get some fantastic beasts in there, but for the most part, you're just gonna get depression.
Set in the 1920s.
Yes, can't you tell by my accent? You know, I'm both depressed and elated by the fact that we got to review such a horrible movie, but at the same time offered us plenty of things to talk about.
That's true. That's a good analysis, Spencer. It was really enlightening to discuss the aspects of this film with you and really get into the meat of how a movie's made and why stories are told the way they are, and the art of screenwriting, and why it's important and why it's really relevant to making a movie that people can enjoy.
You know, it almost puts me in this awkward place between being depressed and elated and happy. Maybe we could make our own drugs.